Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Worlds Apart, Worlds Together, where best friends share laughter, stories, and helpful tips and an unbreakable bond, too. We are back this week with a wonderful new episode for you. Last week was kind of rough, I have to admit. Leah and I were both kind of not into it. um,
Yeah.
but today we have spent the last hour and a half talking about budgeting and finances. So I think we are ready to tackle this episode.
Yeah, this has nothing really to do with that. But yeah,
No, nothing at all. But it just
um
got me into a good mood.
there we go. Good mood. I'm glad it got you into a good mood. So this week we are talking about simplifying life for greater happiness, but in the realm of exploring minimalism and overconsumption. If you're on TikTok and all of that, there is that whole like underconsumption minimalism TikTok, which basically is showing how people live a normal life. Like,
Yeah, where, well, it was this video that caught my attention on TikTok where it was like if people wore all of the products that they had. So it was like this dude wearing 70 hats and this girl wearing or carrying 50 handbags. It's like you have so many of the same products or materials when in reality, do you use all of them? Do you need all of them? No, probably not. But we keep spending money and we keep spending, yeah, time into those products.
yeah, for sure. And this really, I didn't came up with this topic not because of TikTok, but because I was reading something and it said something along the lines of, have you ever have you ever been curious as to why the current what are we, millennial, no, Gen Z, what are we,
I think
our
I'm Gen
mid
Z.
20, whatever the mid 20 30 generation is,
I'll look it up. You keep talking.
why are we mid 20s 30s generation so consumed with living this minimalistic underconsumption lifestyle, when you see our parents and our grandparents who literally were the opposite. Like, they collected things, they never threw anything away.
Yeah.
My grandmother has 15 billion different collectible items just sitting, cause just to sit for
We're
decorative.
Gen Z.
Yeah, we're Gen Z. Okay,
Our
so why
parents are Gen X.
Gen X?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then like even Gen X have a similar mentality of like save, collect, things like that. But why are we Gen Z so consumed with this minimalism? And it was so fascinating to me because they went on further to explain that like our grandparents most likely had like depression in the US, like depression parents. So they came from nothing. So then they, when they were able and could, they wanted everything. And
Yeah.
then our parents kind of learned from that. And then now us, we're so tired of it because we've grown up in like hoarder houses, used lightly. We've grown up with all this stuff, and so now we're like, we don't want any of that. But more importantly, we can't afford any of that.
No.
So there's been not only an internal generational shift, but also an economic shift. And I think that's kind of where, along with other things that we'll touch on, but those are kind of the two things that I was reading that really was like, wow, like let's explore this in our own opinions and our own experiences a little bit.
Yeah. I do definitely remember having, a drawer that has just a bunch of shit in it. Just the drawer in the
The
kitchen where
junk
you
drawer.
have
That's classic. The junk drawer.
the junk drawer. I thought you said the drunk drawer, and I was
No,
like,
junk.
I don't know what that means. um, and you just open it up, and you have the scissors, you have band aids, you have little elastic bands, you have straws. You literally have like anything,
Mhm.
but you never can find anything
Mhm.
either. So I do remember that. My dad is a great collector of CDs and DVDs. He has a bunch of Prince CDs, and now he keeps like all of our child stuff, and it's like we need it for our grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like it's fair because why would you throw everything out and then buy new toys and new stuff when the grandchildren are there? But it's just it's all sitting in the house, rotting away.
Yeah, so it is kind of interesting to think about and really kind of analyze the differences in how we ended up the way we are, I guess, or like how
Yeah,
Gen Z has gone towards this minimalistic lifestyle, this underconsumption lifestyle.
I'm not quite there yet, though.
No?
No,
Oh, I'm for it.
I'm for it, but I'm not there. You know
I'm
how
for
I
it. I
collect
own
my
7 pairs of underwear. If I miss a wash day, no underwear for Leah.
That's not true.
Do you want to check my closet? I currently am wearing my last pair.
No way you have 7 pairs of underwear.
Yeah, I have not bought underwear in 5 years, and the
Okay,
ones that are worn out, I threw away.
okay, but hear me out. Sometimes I use like two a day.
That's your problem.
Interesting. No way you have 7 pairs of
Do
underwear.
you want me to go through my dirty clothes and find
No,
6?
it's okay. It's okay. I don't need to. But I just find it hard to believe that you have 7 pairs of underwear.
I also only have 8 pairs of socks.
Okay, well, I think in some ways you can do a little bit more material.
I don't have the money, which we'll talk about. I don't have the money right now for those things.
That is fair. Underwear is very
Like,
expensive
why the
for
fuck
no
is
reason.
underwear $4 a pair, $5 a pair, $12 a pair?
I
I've
don't
seen
know.
$12 a pair underwear.
No, I know, and it's ridiculous. It's like, especially women's underwear, it's so tiny. It is literally just a piece of material. Like, why does it have to be so expensive? The same with any types of women.
I'm about to go get men's underwear, but that's no cheaper.
No, but it's the same with just women's health product in general.
It's because of the pink tax. There's a thing, at least in the US, called the pink tax. So if you like razors, if you can get the same 3 5 blade razor in the women's and in the men's, the exact same razor basically, the women's will
Yeah.
cost more because it's targeted towards women. It's called the pink
Well,
tax.
yeah, but I also mean like tampons and shit.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same concept.
Like
It's
they're
all from the pink
so
tax.
expensive, and it's something that we need to use
Well, I guess you don't have to.
because,
You can just bleed down your leg.
well, that. But then you're being judged, and you can be thrown in jail for indecent exposure and stuff.
For that, really?
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know. But yeah, it is kind of ridiculous of how things that are society normalized as necessary cost so much for no
Like
reason.
houses.
Yeah, houses. But
But that is way off the topic that we are wanting to discuss today. Um, that's a whole economic topic that we have already touched on ourselves. But we'll go back to a topic that we wanted to talk about, and that is the minimalism that apparently Gen Z is obsessed with. I do resonate a little bit with it because I don't like that much clutter in my home. But I'm a collector of Starbucks mugs. I'm a
yeah,
collector of books. So I like to have books in my home.
yeah. Um, I think we all kind of will always have like a little thing that we like or a couple things that we like. But so I guess why Gen Z has become indoctrinated with this kind of type of living is one, that shift in priorities, due to either generational experiences or generational change or shifts or whatever, and it's prioritizing experiences over that material possessions. I think there has been I this shift from our parents and our grandparents and stuff of wanting to have the best and wanting to collect because the more you have, the higher rank in society that you are, or whatever that type of mentality is. And I think for our generation, it has shifted, and we have kind of prioritized those wanting of experiences and living life, and not necessarily the collection of
Yeah,
things.
I would agree.
Like
Because
we
they keep
want,
memories and those last longer than materials.
yeah, and there's this whole like concept of whether you're religious or not, you can't take it with you when you die. So what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. Oh, it's fair.
But
Yeah.
like you can always hand it to your kids, grandkids, whatever. But do they even want it?
Yeah, because then it's like, oh, we have grandma's
But if,
shit.
yeah, but that's yes. But if you
Because, like, what
spend
are you
that,
going to do with those thousands of teaspoons?
yeah, no words, no words. Um, but if you spend that money on experiences with your friends, with your family, with your significant other, then you can cherish those pictures. You'll be able to talk about those experiences. It's going to
Yeah.
shape who you are. And that's pretty much like you can't get any better way. Like no amount of
No.
possessions that you own is going to equate to that.
No. And as you said, in this time of life, it's just an economic necessity. Living has become more and more expensive, and we, as young adults, need to adopt to
Adapt.
adapt. Here it says adopt.
Wow.
Adapt. Adapt to this lifestyle. Like we need to make the necessity or make the necessary changes in order for us to be able to live. Not collecting those things, not buying everything brand new can help us save money and unnecessary spendings.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one of those things. Housing, food, groceries, Medicare, healthcare, insurance, like everything's gone up. I was telling Mara earlier, like just equating college tuition. 40 years ago, when my mom was in undergrad, she paid $300 to $400 a semester for tuition. So between eight and $1,000 during her or per year in tuition during her academic time. We pay between $10,000 and $50,000 a year
Yeah,
now, um,
it's insane.
in college tuition, and that honestly, it's not. It's one generation difference. Like it's
Yeah.
just different. It has become so different that our parents and our grandparents can't even comprehend. And I think that is definitely leading to a part of
Yeah.
us, whether we want to or not, we have to. For in some instances,
That and what I also think is that having so many different types of materials, so many different types of clutters, and just those junk drawers everywhere, I don't think it's healthy in a way because you just look and it's like shit. You open another drawer, more shit. You open a cabinet, way more shit. And it's like, what do I do with all this stuff?
for sure.
So that, it helps with mental health
Hmm.
issues, maybe. It can reduce stress because you don't always have to look to all the shit. One example is Michael has so many clothes.
Yep.
Like so
So does
many.
Hunter.
He wears the same three shirts
Hmm.
every week, but his entire closet is full with clothes.
Hmm.
And when I wash them and I hang them up to dry, he always picks them from the drying rack. And I'm like, why don't you just open your closet and get something different?
Yep.
And he only brought maybe a quarter of all of his clothes to the Netherlands, and the rest is still in the US.
It's insane.
It's so insane. And it's because his mother, who is a Gen X, goes to the thrift store and buys all these things because it's only $3 for a t-shirt. It's only $4 for this nice hoodie. It's like, okay, but
I
he
do have
has
to
like
say,
literally seven of the same.
yeah, I do have to say that part of living like or part of our generation's like underconsumption is to buy daily necessities, so clothes that can be, or furniture that are all thrifted or secondhand, and
Yeah.
fix them up. That's my favorite thing to do, but that costs money, and I don't have money.
Yeah, I mean, if you can afford, let's say you want to buy a new piece of furniture and you can afford a second hand from a thrift store that you can fix yourself for way less money than to buy a new one, totally do it.
Mhm.
If you want a dress or something or a new pair of shoes and you can find a good pair at the thrift store, go buy it.
Yeah,
Because that is still giving you that same, material that you might need, but for way less. And
yeah.
I'm all for reusing stuff because us buying new things all the time isn't helping the environment either.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not helping a lot. It's not helping the environment. It's not helping. I mean, also, things things are made more cheaply now. So, like, if you bought new clothes, chances are, unless you're spending atrocious amount buying
Yeah.
some of the most expensive name brand stuff, maybe it's not the same. But in
Mm-hmm.
my scenario, just going and getting shirt or jeans or whatever, they're not made at the same quality as what,
No.
10 years ago, or whatever amount of years you want to go back, 2 years ago, whatever. It's constantly declining because they want people to keep buying. It's all part of the economy and whatever else that you want to go down to in the economic domino effect.
Yeah. It's interesting because one of the clients of my job, he was talking about how back in the day, every piece of clothing was handmade. So the way it was produced was very good because
Hmm.
they didn't want things to rip or want things to, yeah, get holes in them because it was so much time and effort was going into it that it wasn't just an easy fix. And people weren't just buying new things because they didn't have the money. So back in the day, the clothing was a lot more, yeah, the quality was so much better. If you see, like some museums have those dresses and those pieces of clothing from like hundreds of years ago, and they still look good. And then I pull out a t shirt that I bought 3 years ago and it looks like a piece of shit. And it's like, what do you mean? Like, why is this so bad when those dresses are preserved so well? It's because of
Yeah.
that reason. Like, this is all just fast fashion.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, part of it is also, it's like styles change. So what you buy, you're not gonna really like in 2, 3, 4 years. So why are you paying all that money for something that you'll get a good wear out of for 2 years, but then you probably want to mix it up?
Yeah, fair.
Not everything like that, but some things are like that. And the way that people consume and to buy stuff, some thrift stores, from my experience, have like basically brand new clothes. Some of
Yeah,
them even still have tags on them. They've never
I
even been worn.
I bought new Timberlands
Hmm.
for $15 at a thrift
Hmm.
store. I bought them 3 years ago and I still wear them to this day.
Yeah. So definitely there's like thrifting, going cheaper does not necessarily mean that you have to give up that quality.
No.
Um
Like
because
oftentimes you find really nice brands at the thrift stores.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And back to your point, all of this does have some sort of mental health benefit, because it is well known that the more organized, the more decluttered things are, it translates to your brain. Your brain doesn't feel as chaotic, your brain doesn't feel
Yeah.
as cluttered, and it fosters some of that reduced stress and improved mental clarity and all that
Yeah.
stuff that can enhance better mental health.
Yeah, I mean, that's why when I walk into the home and I see shoes everywhere, I see clothes everywhere, I see his dirty dishes, I see my things over there, it's like, it's too much. And like, this needs to go away.
Yeah.
Like, I tell Michael, I'm like, we gotta fix the house. Like it's a chaos.
Yeah. Yep. I Hunter and I he thinks it's very strange that I do the dishes every night.
No.
Okay, he thinks it's so weird. I'm like, he was like,
Uh-uh.
why do you, not everyone does the dishes every day. And I'm like, I do not want to wake up to a dirty kitchen. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
know.
Like it's so
Like,
much nicer when it's just clean.
like a mug or something or a glass or a cup, okay, like I'm fine. But
Fine.
after dinner, I'm gonna clean the pots. Like,
Yeah.
no, no. He's like, well, when the sink is full, I'll do them.
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
So to me, like I can't think if I'm having like a day that I have to get something done and I can't make myself sit down and do it. I will look around and I'm like, okay, I gotta clean the house. For whatever reason, I'm like, okay. It may not even be that dirty, but there could just be
Yeah.
like four things that are just like, those gotta be picked up.
Yeah. No,
And
fair.
I'll sit down and do it, and I'll feel so much, and then I'll take a little break, and then I'm productive. I'm like, okay, now I can actually start.
Yep. And that is that mental clarity that sometimes you just need to have
Yeah.
to
Which is also
to be
why I
able to
can't do
get
much
work
work
done.
at my house because there's always something, so I have to
Yeah.
leave. But
Yeah.
that's just a
Fair enough.
personal thing. But I guess
Oh.
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say we would offer some tips on how
I
to.
was gonna touch on one more thing before we go down to the
Okay. Yeah, that's
and the
fine.
last, I guess the last thing that of last reason why would be a desire for freedom. So we kind of touched on this
Mm.
already, but owning less means that you have to maintain less, which gives people the ability to focus on some things that truly matter to them. So things that we've talked about before, relationships, hobbies, travel, whatever it might be. But
Yeah.
just having that baggage or less baggage of a house, of this, that, of possessions, of whatever that you have to maintain and keep up,
Yeah.
that freedom of having so much of that will allow you to do some other things that you
That's
may
why I
want to do.
think having a mansion is just not for me. Like there's so much to clean. It's like how will I ever do that? Like there's no time for me to clean this house.
Well, if you can afford a mansion, you can afford to pay for cleaners. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but then they don't do it the way that I want it to be done.
That's a personal problem.
It is a personal problem. Which hence is why I will never buy a mansion, just because of that reason.
Fair.
Not because I don't have the money. It's just
Oh yeah,
simply
you got that
because
money.
I don't want to have all that space.
Then you got to fill that space. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, I have enough stuff to fill those spaces, I think, but Anyway, we'll provide you with some tips to declutter a little bit into your life if you want to. You don't have to. We're not forcing you to do anything. Um,
No, but if
but
you're interested in trying,
if you're interested in trying, if you're like, you know what, my house or my life is a little bit chaotic and I need to have some more mental clarity, try some of these things. I will start off by talking about belongings. You can start by emptying everything out. You can start per room. You can start in the reading corner. You can start wherever, and you can just
in
look at each
one
item,
drawer,
one drawer, the junk drawer, and you can look at it, and it's like, does it bring me joy? Does it bring me practical use? If neither of those boxes are checked, you gotta let it go. You can either donate it if they're good items and somebody else might be a very happy camper when they use that, or if it's like, well, if somebody sees this at a thrift store, they'll probably walk out the door. You probably recycle it.
yeah, you get rid of it somewhere.
You get rid
So,
of it.
we're gonna move on to if you're trying to do like a living space. Generally, the best recommendation is to focus on one room at a time.
Yes.
So you would want to remove anything that doesn't serve a functional or aesthetic purpose. And then you're going to want to organize all your items and keep things tidy and accessible. So if you are someone, for example, if you're someone who likes to have blankets on a couch, but you don't like just draping them on the couch because that bothers you, you can get like a nice little like basket or stand to put them in when you're done, and it makes it look more organized, nice
Yeah,
and clean and tidy.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we have a little basket next to our couch with just some papers. Our laptops are usually in there.
Hmm.
So it's just one spot where we put all of that stuff that we use occasionally, instead of it just laying around. Next one, we already also kind of touched on this one, but intentional purchases. And I want to combine this with also avoiding impulse buying. So intentional purchases are purchases online, usually, sometimes in the store too, and think about if you really need it. I had an example today. I saw this glass and it had a candy cane in it as like a Christmas glass. And I was like, oh my God, this is adorable. But it's like, do I really need it? No, probably not. So I walked around the store and then I left it. It was like, I don't need it. It's okay. It's $5 for one glass. I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah.
And that would have been a impulse decision if I were to buy it. A tip to avoid that impulse buying could be unsubscribing from marketing emails, that tempt you with sales and offers. I know there's a lot of companies just pushing out these emails and like Timu, things like that. And it's like, you earn credit, spend your credit
Oh,
now.
it's like literally everything. Target, Costco, Sam's,
Oh, yeah, I
Walmart.
don't have those because I don't
In
really
the
buy.
US, you can't
But
leave a store without having
yeah,
some sort of subscribed email thing coming to you.
yeah. Well, it's smart to unsubscribe of those because then you're not tempted by the deals that they might show. Um, and this can also be helpful if you want to practice gratitude of the things that you do have. If you have a blanket and you're like, "Oh, I would like another blanket," and it's like, "Okay, but what is wrong with the blanket you already have? And why are you hurting his feelings? Why do you need a new one?" Think about it as a person, and then maybe that will help.
Nice. I do want to say like a common thing I've also heard in regards to avoid impulse buying and
Yeah,
intentional purchases is, especially when it comes to online, like you can put it in your shopping cart or like checkout, but don't proceed to checkout. Like leave it 1 day, 2 days a week. If it's still there and you still find a need for it,
yeah.
then yeah, maybe you should go ahead and get that. But
Oftentimes, just the steps of looking at it and putting it in your cart already gives you the gratification that you actually need instead of actually buying it. I've noticed.
yeah, I don't know. I don't do a lot of online shopping, so I don't really know.
I don't either. Not really.
Then our last few points, 3 points, are digitally.
Yeah.
So like if you're someone who gets a lot of emails, you can filter them, unsubscribe, as Mart said, delete.
Yep.
So we already kind of talked on that, but really just get rid of the nuisance. Just
Yeah.
and then similar things to like social media. You can limit the number of social media platforms you use, unfollow accounts that don't add value to your life. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
Unfollowing accounts that don't add value to your life.
You can, on Instagram, you have a function that you can look at, like the people that you follow or your followers, and then the ones you've interacted least with,
Hmm.
and the ones that have been shown up on your feed the most regularly. And you can scroll through that and you can see like what are these accounts, and usually they're accounts like trying to push out content that adds nothing to your life. So you
Yeah,
can
and it
just go
also
through
is
and unfollow.
it's also good because there are accounts that are very detrimental to your mental health, whether it's
Hmm.
like a celebrity type or it's um I don't know. There's lots that potentially don't align with who you want to be. And those are also good ones to kind of
Yeah.
unfollow. Don't feel bad. They're never gonna know that like you unfollowed them. If it's something that's you notice yourself getting anxiety over or uptight about or anything, just following that account can make you feel so less stressed. And then on top of that, you just set specific times of days to check social media instead of just constantly scrolling. I know different phones and devices have time limits where you can actually
Mm-hmm.
set a certain amount of time or duration on that app. So
That's
once
smart.
once you've reached that time limit for that day, then it will like essentially close you out of that app. So there's lots
Yeah.
of different ways.
I would also recommend to limit your phone use before going to bed.
Yeah, at least
Always
an
do,
hour.
yeah, always do something else than scrolling on your phone before going to bed. Whether it's a breathing exercise, whether it's just, journaling or practicing gratitude or reading a page in your book. Do something else than sitting in front of a screen, because if you sit and scroll on social media, you get sucked into it and it's going to affect your quality of sleep.
Yeah, and it's just not about that content at that point. It's about lights and uh, hormones and everything that comes with that. So that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But yeah, just get off phones, tablets, computers, anything like 30
Yeah.
minutes to an hour minimum before going to bed.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
make it a
And I
habit,
think,
because the first time you do that, you're not going to know what to do. But as you do it, you'll find your way.
yeah. Yeah. And it takes a time for habits to, what's it called? To become habits, basically.
Like 30 days.
Yeah. So really push yourself and really force yourself to get away from the phone and get away from the screen before you go to bed.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of wraps up what we wanted to touch on today.
Yeah.
So maybe if you want, you can share us some of your tips and tricks, or maybe give a reason of why you decided this lifestyle or why you fell into it if it wasn't touched on. Um, but thank you for joining us as we offer a glimpse into the world of true friendship, where even though worlds may seem apart, the connection remains strong.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.